Hey, what up, fam? I know it's been a minute, 3 months since I made a video, but I mean, it's twofold. Number one, I've been busy with life, as all of us are. And number two, there just hasn't been really anything that really moved me to make a video that strongly in the last couple of months. Like, I know there was the HR 40 hearings and a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but there are other people who have way bigger followings than me who made videos on those, and they said everything that I felt pretty much needed to be said. And also, I feel like anybody who listens to me probably listens to those people also. And I'm talking about, Jason Black and Tariq Nasheed and Professor Black Truth, these kind of people. And Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks also, obviously. So, and I feel like, most of the people who listen to me already heard their takes. And that's why I didn't really come out and put out anything. I just saw a brother had commented on one of my videos, he wanted to hear my takes on that. And, I do apologize, brother. I'm actually just now seeing your comment. But like I said, that's why I didn't comment on things like that, because I felt like there were people who have bigger channels than me who were already touching on the subject. So anyway, but the reason why I want to make a video today, and this one is going to be a real short video. I know I say all my videos are going to be short, but this one is really going to be pretty short, at least compared to the other ones. I just want to talk about this Mueller hoax that they did this past week, and just to forewarn black people, ADOS, FBA, Foundational Black Americans, to ignore this stuff. Look, ever since Trump got elected, when Trump got elected, it was a confirmation of two things. Number one, it was a confirmation of the fact that black people were finally starting to wake up. Not fully, because there's still going to be plenty of us voting for Democrats, but there was still enough of us awake enough to no longer support the Democrats, just because they're Democrats. Because that's really all Hillary's campaign was based on, the fact that she wasn't Trump. She has no personality. She's totally fraudulent. Even the white liberals, a lot of the white liberals, that's why a lot of them were supporting Bernie, can see through her and how fraudulent and fake she is, and how she says whatever is convenient for the moment. But what's important for black people is that she's a white supremacist. She has been a part of uh, and a almost embodiment of the benign neglect, the um, the mass incarceration, all of these things that are you can pretty much put on Democrats primarily. Republicans, they don't practice benign neglect in the fact that they don't pretend that they're going to help black people. They let black people know, we're not going to help you by speaking in code of saying we're going to give you opportunity and you're going to pull yourself up by your bootstrap, meaning that we're not going to do nothing for you, right? Whereas the Democrats, they pretend that they're going to come with programs for you. They pretend that they're going to use the power of the government and the power of their positions to bring legislation and programs that are actually going to help you, not just telling you that they're going to give you the opportunity to pull yourself up. So I don't really consider Republicans to practice benign neglect, even though you possibly could, depending on how you look at things. But there's no denying that Democrats definitely practice benign neglect and are the masters of benign neglect. So all of these things, she calls us super predators. I call her super predator because that's what she was, especially on the black community. She's on super predator on America as a whole because she's just a rich elite oligarch. But she's definitely a super predator on the black community with these anti-black policies she's overseen and this benign neglect policy that she's literally an embodiment of, and this offensive pandering that she was doing, and that black people were buying into, like the hot sauce in my bag and all this silly crap, and sitting up with the mothers of shot black children, but not going to give us any policy to stop this kind of police brutality or punish these kind of police officers who commit these kind of crimes, and create a Trayvon Martin's mother and a Tamir Rice's mother and whoever else mother she was going on political tour with. So, but anyway, I say all that to say, when Hillary lost, that was number one a confirmation that black people are no longer, at least not as as in mass or as in group minded as we used to. We're no longer voting for Democrats like we used to. We don't care if you're coming with a white supremacist on the other side. A lot of us are starting to see that the Democrats are the same white supremacists on one side that the Republicans are on the other side. You can come with Trump, you can come with David Duke. Democrats are just as bad. They just put a smile on it. And more of us are starting to see that. Not enough of us, in my opinion, obviously. There's still too many of us that are going to vote for Democrats in this upcoming election, regardless if they actually offer us tangibles or reparations or not, which I'm 98% sure that they are not. Uh, so there's still too many of us that are going to vote for the Democrats no matter what. But that was the number one thing, is that was the sign of what's I think is building, and that's that black people are becoming more and more resistant and disconnected to the Democrats. And the other thing that it pointed out was how big the white supremacist population is in America. That's the other thing that it exposed. And this is the thing that white people really don't want to admit, because white people know that Trump is as open as a white supremacist as you can get without being Richard Spencer or David Duke. Like, Trump is about as open and honest a white supremacist as you can be without being a straight up Klansman or straight up, just straight up person that says, look, white people are superior. Like, that's Trump is just a level below that type of white supremacist, because he won't go that far. He won't admit that he feels that way, even though it's obvious that he does. He won't admit that. He's not going as far as a David Duke or Richard Spencer, but he's stopping just short. And what this shows, and white people know this, and white people know that, quote unquote, people of color, I'll use that term this time, even though normally I hate that term. This time I'll use it because it fits. People of color, that's whether they're black or otherwise non-white. As long as they're non-white, that's pretty much what a person of color is. Uh, they know that black people and even other non-white people who try their best to be fake whites and want to be white supremacists and are just try to be as anti-black or more anti-black than a white supremacist to try to prove that they can be an honorary white person. They know that even they see that Trump is a white supremacist. Even they will have a hard time denying, even though a lot of them do still. A lot of them still voted for Trump. A lot of these Hispanics still voted for Trump. That's why nobody feels bad for them in these ICE raids, because 60-something% of y'all Latinos voted for Trump anyway. But even though they voted for Trump anyway, they know that they can see that this dude is a white supremacist. So what the media did was they went on a campaign of self-delusion for America, where they're going to pretend they're going to go on this conniption. Liberal America is going to go on this conniption to denounce and attack Trump, and in order to not have to face the reality that America is full of white supremacists. So everybody's going to act like Trump is this over-the-top evil boogeyman, the worst thing that's ever come to America, because they want to disassociate themselves with Trump, who they see as a caricature. And that's what white supremacists love. They love the caricature of a racist, of frothing at the mouth, racist screaming the N-word, because most white supremacists know they don't conduct themselves that way. So they can detach themselves from the frothing white supremacists. And that's where Trump is. Let's go overboard attacking him so we can detach ourselves from the fact that our nation is full of white supremacists that would vote for an open white supremacist like Trump. Those are the two things that the media did not want to have to face or admit, even though they knew it was plain to pretty much the entire nation and the entire planet. So what they did was they embarked on a campaign of self-delusion that this was a complete hoax, that the only way Trump won was not because of the white supremacists in this country and the fact that black people are starting to disengage from the Democrats. Not because of that, even though that's the reality, but because Russians did it. Russians put some nonsensical Facebook post up. If you're so stupid that a Facebook post will change who you will completely influence your whole political ideology, that let me not say that, because it can. Hell, it helped influence mine. But anyway, this whole nonsense that, because they can't really even say they interfered with the election. All they could say that it was quote unquote Facebook posts. A lot of times these alleged Facebook posts that were from Russians were about truths. They're about the realities of racism. That's what the thing is. That's the other thing. And I didn't want to make this video too long. I know, as I say, I'm not gonna make the videos longer than I end up making them long. But um, they started this Russian propaganda first as a way to start to attack black people. That's why they started taking down pages like Cop Block on Facebook. That's why they started taking down a whole bunch of pro-black pages. That's why they started putting out these reports that allegedly black, quote-unquote, Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter is a code for black people. Let's just get that clear. So if anybody's not clear on that. White supremacists, whether they're liberal or conservative, use Black Lives Matter as a code for black people. There is no Black Lives Matter. The organization is very loose. There is an actual organization, but we know it's a liberal shill organization. But then there's the Black Lives Matter, the movement, where it wasn't really people who are part of the actual organization. It's people who were out in the streets marching, protesting police brutality. It's a lot of things. This is a hashtag, and everybody who used the hashtag was not a part of the quote unquote organization. It's a very vague, broad term that white supremacists use so that they don't have to say black people. Because what was happening was a lot of black people were doing the work online to make people aware of the kind of person Hillary Clinton was, the kind of criminal she is, the kind of white supremacist she is towards black people. And they try to use that to say that that's Russian propaganda because it's going against what the mainstream liberal media wants, which is Hillary Clinton to be elected. So because of that, that makes you a Russian. Because you're calling Hillary Clinton the super predator that she is. That makes you a white supremacist. Or not a white supremacist. That makes you a Russian agent. That makes you a Russian operative. That's what they started trying to do with ADOS. The ADOS are Russian bots. It was a McCarthyism. And if you don't know what McCarthyism is, please Google it. Do a little bit of research on it because you'll see how it's exactly. It was McCarthyism 2.0 is what they were doing today. It was some Red Scare bullshit, some Red Scare babble. And speaking of McCarthyism, also look at how they were calling Martin Luther King a communist. That was part of um, McCarthyism back in the day and Red Scare talk back in the day, basically saying they were saying Martin Luther King was a Russian. So this is the white supremacists. They don't do anything new. They just recycle stuff and put a new face on it. So even with what they were doing at ADOS with the Russian bots thing, they were doing that 50, 60 years ago. With they were doing that to people like Martin Luther King. He's a communist. He's a Russian. Blah blah blah. This is what the white supremacists do. They come up and they attach you, a black person, as some sort of foreign threat, because basically what they're trying to say is, hey, you're a threat to this country. You're a threat to the foundation of this country, which is white supremacy. So you might as well be a foreign actor. You might as well be a foreign agent. We see you as an African refugee anyway, even though we're American citizens and we built this country and we were here before damn 60, 70% of the 80 and 90% of the white supremacists who are here now. And the wannabe white, especially the wannabe white supremacists, the Asians and the Latinos and the Arabs. We were here before all y'all. But we're going to put a foreign connotation on you, make you a foreign agent so that we can justify attacking you and we can legitimize attacking you. And that's all that was. And I'm saying all this to say that's what this Mueller thing was. Is we're going to use McCarthyism 2.0 and we're going to come up with this complete hoax, this complete fraud of an investigation about Russian interference in our election in order to justify putting Russian connotations on black people who weren't going along with the white liberal Democrat line, and also to cover up the fact that we have a bunch of white supremacists in this country. And so instead of admitting that we have a bunch of white supremacists in this country, we'll just say that Russians tricked these white supremacists into being white supremacists. That's what we'll say. That's the two things that they want to push out there. No, America isn't full of white supremacists. It's just that the Russians tricked the white supremacists into being white supremacists. And the Russians were pretending to be black people to trick the black people into not voting for Hillary Clinton. That's what it was really all about. And it was a complete hoax and a complete fraud to explain the failure of Hillary Clinton and a candidate who they thought they could just coronate into the presidency and media propagandize into the presidency. And it failed miserably. It failed. It didn't get to the white supremacists. The white supremacists are fed up. They just want to be open white supremacists. And black people are fed up with being deceived by the benign neglect and being attacked by Democrats with their mass incarceration super predator policies. That's basically what went on. And I want to prove it a little bit because I want to play a clip from the Mueller investigation. Because this little clip, this is like a 4-minute clip, and I'm going to play the whole thing. It's even though it's from a Republican, and I've obviously been calling Republicans white supremacists this whole video. So if any of you Republicans want to get on here and think that you found a black Trump supporter, or you found a fellow whatever, a fellow black Republican or a Trump supporter, you're wrong. I see you guys as the white supremacist party you are. There's no point in coming over here and thinking that you found a kindred spirit in me just because I'm calling out Robert Mueller. But anyway, I want to play this from a Republican, because even though he's a Republican and most likely a white supremacist, his exposing of Mueller is a good. It was effective. It was highly effective, and basically it was a microcosm, and it summed up in a nutshell the level of a hoax that this Mueller investigation was, and that it's a bunch of nothing but. It's been an entire 2.5 year long experiment, grand experiment in political theater. Anyway, here we go.
Mr. Mueller, I want to focus on one word in your report. It's the second to the last word in the report. It's exonerate. The report states, accordingly, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it does not exonerate him. Now, in the judiciary hearing, in your prior testimony, you've already agreed with Mr. Radcliffe that exonerate is not a legal term, that there is not a legal test for this. So I have a question for you, Mr. Mueller. Mr. Mueller, does the Attorney General have the power or authority to exonerate? And what I'm putting up here is the United States Code. This is where the Attorney General gets his power, and the Constitution, and the annotated cases of these, which we've searched. We even went to your law school, because I went to Case Western, but I thought maybe your law school teaches it differently, and we got the criminal law textbook from your law school. Mr. Mueller, nowhere in these, because we had them scanned, is there a process or description on exonerate. There's no office of exoneration at the Attorney General's office. There's no certificate at the bottom of his desk. Mr. Mueller, would you agree with me that the Attorney General does not have the power to exonerate?
I'm going to pass on that.
Why?
Because it embroils us in a legal discussion, and I'm not prepared to do a legal discussion in that arena.
Well, Mr. Mueller, you would not disagree with me when I say that there is no place that the Attorney General has the power to exonerate, and he's not been given that authority. You would not.
Yeah, and I'm not going to. I take your question.
Great. Well, the one thing that I guess is that the Attorney General probably knows that he can't exonerate either. And that's the part that kind of confuses me. Because if the Attorney General doesn't have the power to exonerate, then you don't have the power to exonerate, and I believe he knows he doesn't have the power to exonerate. And so this is the part that I don't understand. If your report is to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General doesn't have the power to exonerate, and he knows that you do not have that power, you don't have to tell him that you're not exonerating the president. He knows this already. So then that kind of changed the context of the report.
I know. We included in the report for exactly that reason. He may not know it, and he should know it.
So you believe that the Attorney Bill Barr believes that somewhere in the hallways of the Department of Justice there's an office of exoneration?
No, that's not what I said.
Well, I believe he knows, and I don't believe you put that in there for Mr. Barr. I think you put that in there for exactly what I'm going to discuss next, and that is, so the Washington Post yesterday, when speaking of your report, the article said Trump could not be exonerated of trying to obstruct the investigation itself. Trump could not be exonerated. Now, that statement is correct, Mr. Mueller, isn't it, in that no one can be exonerated? The reporter wrote this. This reporter can't be exonerated. Mr. Mueller, you can't be exonerated. In fact, in our criminal justice system, there is no power or authority to exonerate. Now, this is my concern, Mr. Mueller. This is the headline on all of the news channels while you were testifying today. Mueller, Trump was not exonerated. Now, Mr. Mueller, what you know is that this can't say Mueller exonerated Trump, because you don't have the power or authority to exonerate Trump. You have no more power to declare him exonerated than you have the power to declare him Anderson Cooper. So the problem that I have here is that since there's no one in the criminal justice system that has that power, the president pardons, he doesn't exonerate. Courts and juries don't declare innocent, they declare not guilty. They don't even...
All right, family, so y'all get the point. Basically, Mueller got up there, or not Mueller got up there, but he put in this report that he was this fraudulent at the end of this investigation, which is why he could come up with no charges, not a single charge, is all he could put in there was that Trump is not exonerated, which, as the representative pointed out, it's not possible to exonerate Trump in the American legal system. If someone does not get convicted of a crime, that is not exoneration. That is simply a failed conviction. That is a not guilty verdict. That's all it is, or whatever it is. But you can't be exonerated. You cannot be exonerated. It's not possible to be exonerated in an investigation because it was not a trial. Trump was not on trial. He was not charged with a crime and found not guilty of a crime. And there is no way that you can investigate someone and declare them exonerated, or that it's not possible that they did the crime. And Mueller, as this big legal expert that the white liberal media mounted for 2 years, and rode him hard, and just was deriding him so hard, he has no power to exonerate Trump, but he put that in there as a so that the white liberal media that he is in cahoots with, the fraudulent political theater actors that are calling themselves Democratic politicians, Democratic senators, and Democratic congressmen, that he's in cahoots with, these political actors, these fakes, these white elitists and black puppets that are in the Democrat Party. He's in cahoots with them so that they could take that and even though they know that they were running with a complete hoax, a complete political theater, a complete show, so that they could take that and say, well, even though they didn't find him guilty, they didn't say he was not guilty. They didn't say he was not guilty. That's why that same headline that guy pointed out, if you go watch any actual video of the clip I just played, you'll see that little headline, and I'm probably going to use it as a screenshot in this video, where CNN was running with the misleading, deceptive line of Mueller, Trump was not exonerated. That way they could plant in the hopes of the sheep, of the Democratic liberal sheep that followed him, that, oh, Trump is still guilty, even though Mueller, who did a 2-year investigation, couldn't find enough to bring a single charge against him. That way we can still cling on to this lie that it wasn't the white supremacists, it wasn't black people no longer falling for the propaganda. We can still say it was the Russians. And I've already demonstrated in this video, or pointed out in this video, how they've already tried to use that partly as a weapon against black people, but also as a way to protect, or 2 ways as a weapon against black people. One as a direct way to attack black people, and another way as a way to protect white supremacists. And to continue to pretend that they aren't there. Because the more you pretend that white supremacists aren't there, white supremacists thrives, and white supremacy and white supremacists thrive in denial, thrive in pretending that they aren't there, thrive in pretending that they aren't doing what they are doing, so that they can continue to do it, and both white and black people and everybody else in between can go along with it, pretending that it's not what it is, or pretending that it isn't bad as all that, when it is. That's why black people in ADOS in America in particular are on their way to extinction. And I just wanted to make this video to point that out and to tell my family, please, families, do not pay any attention to this theater. This Mueller fraud got up there and said, I'm not going to say anything extra. Everything I've had to say was in the report. So what you doing here at a testimony? Why are the Democrats having you up here so that you can repeat a bunch of the same crap that you've been repeating? As a matter of fact, let's see what some of the liberal media that he was in cahoots with had to say about his testimony. Give me one moment here. CNN Justice correspondent Evan Perez says that Mueller essentially muddled the waters a lot today. And give me one moment here. So Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi, another liberal, said the Democrats' decision to put former special counsel Robert Mueller under oath was a catastrophe. MSNBC analyst Jeremy Bash described Mueller as boring and sort of evasive and lost at times, hardly a star witness to wish upon. CNN Situation Room host Wolf Blitzer said Mueller gave a shaky performance. Because all this dude is get up there and say, I'm not going to speak to that. It's in the report. I'm not going to get caught up in a legal tangle with that. No, dude. Just answer the question. Can Trump or can he not be exonerated by you? If he cannot be exonerated or non-exonerated by you, why are you putting in there that he's non-exonerated when you can't exonerate him or unexonerate him? You can't exonerate him, so why are you saying that you didn't exonerate him when you can't exonerate him? Because saying that you didn't exonerate him puts the connotation that you chose not to exonerate him, that you could have exonerated him, but you chose not to. And that's a complete lie because you can't exonerate him even if you wanted to. So why did you put in there that you didn't exonerate him? Because you were a liberal media shill puppet. That's why you got up there for 7 hours, and it was a 7-hour waste of time, waste of life, and an offense, especially to black people on ADOS, because this is a theater, political theater, to make us think that these Democrats are going after big bad Trump because he's white supremacy, and once Trump gets out of office, white supremacy disappears. That's what the undertone to this is towards black people. Our undertone towards white people is, hey, it's okay. We're not racist. We're just going to continue to blame the Russians. But for black people, it's, hey, this big bad white supremacist. White supremacy is Trump. It stops and ends at Trump. And as soon as we get Trump out of office, white supremacy will be over. So black people, don't be concerned. Don't start getting politically active. Don't get awake, because as long as we get Trump out of office, all the white supremacy will go away. When black people with sense know that white supremacy has been going on since slavery, through Jim Crow, through mass incarceration, to this day. That's why Tamir Rice's killer is walking free. That's why George Zimmerman is walking free. That's why there are more black men incarcerated than all the women on the planet incarcerated. More black men incarcerated in America than all the women on the planet are incarcerated. That's why black mothers have the highest child mortality rates. That's why we have the highest child poverty rates. That's why we have the highest unemployment of any community. Because we are still in a white supremacist country. But anyway, fam, I didn't want to make this video too long, but I know it's going on to a half an hour, as all my videos go a lot longer than I anticipated. But I just wanted to get all my points out. Like, share, subscribe. Sorry, like I said, I know it's been a while, since 3 months since I made a video. But I'll still continue to be putting out content. Hopefully, you guys stay listening, stay committed. Stay fighting the good fight. We're still not voting. No tangibles, no vote. So, anyway, that's my video. Don't fall for the propaganda. It's political theater. It's offensive. It's a waste of our time. We need to stay on the goal. Stay focused on the goal, and that's tangibles. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. This your boy Morpheus Unplugged out. Peace.